This Hey Sharpies, how y'all doing? I'd like you to know that this episode of Steel Sharp Steel is brought to you by Anti-Racist Baby, the book that is making all the rave across the world as former monster child Ted Cruz holds it up trying to understand why the white people on the front of the book are so brown. It didn't make any sense to him, but hopefully it'll make sense to you as you raise your child, regardless of race, creed, or country of origin, to be an anti-racist baby.
I just don't even understand why this is a controversial book. The book is literally about how we can teach our children from the very beginning to be accepting and supportive and embracing of other people who have different skin colors. And he even went so far, because I'm sure he didn't actually open the book. He saw a cover and said, I can hold this in my hand and distract people. He thought that the book said that racists were born, not bred. But that's the opposite of what the book says. It says that racists are bred. And so if you combat being a racist, and I intend on reading it. I don't have children young enough to appreciate this book, but I do intend on reading it once my copy arrives, because I did order it as soon as Ted Cruz put it up in his hand. And when I saw that it was the #1 book on Amazon, I said, well, let me go on ahead and put my little $8.99 towards this brother Zenzi last name. And huh?
Never mind. Go ahead.
So at any rate, Ted Cruz was the perfect avatar for the special show that we have today, which is all about Sister Ketanji Brown Jackson and her legendary history-making walk to the Supreme Court of the United States. That's our whole show today. We got a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Everybody's going to be weighing in, just as usual, Sharpies. So buckle up, because we got a lot to talk about. And we have a lot of white foolishness to debunk and disturb. So,
you know, I would like to just go on record as saying, for all of our 6Fers that watch the show and all of our allies that watch the show, it's something that we want you to always remember. You know, as you go through life, you may find yourself from time to time lost, right? And wondering, where's your place? Where do you belong? What should you be doing? What should you be involved in? You know, what should you add your 2 cents to? When should you lean in? And the answer is not in Black people's business. I want you to know that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try and give you an understanding of where, well, like whenever you find yourself lost and debating, should I, shouldn't I step over Black people's issues to center myself in the situation, just remember this.
This is where you are. You should be here, paying reparations or chugging Mountain Dew, not in Black people's business. This is where you are. You should be here, paying reparations or chugging
I
Mountain
feel
Dew,
like we are.
not in black people's business.
I wanted to play it twice because I hope you caught. Your screen might be too small, but there's so much around the edge of that,
Around the circle.
around the circle. So chugging Mountain Dew or paying reparations. There was also like putting raisins in potato salad, molesting your family members. Like it was a lot all the way around there. Like you are probably more comfortable here. Stay here. You know, looking like unseasoned chicken, you know, out there, not in black people's business.
Sure.
And so it's just a reminder, if you find yourself thinking, should I? No, you shouldn't. Just don't. You know,
Sure.
people that scream about being dragged on the internet, you showed up for the dragging. We would leave you alone if you would just leave us alone. That's all we want.
Joy, the funny thing about what you just wrote is good evening, Sharpies. Good evening, my fellow Steelers. I guess that's what we could call ourselves. It's great to be here with you all again. And I'm definitely looking forward to this show because this has been a tough week for Black people. And, you know, we do have a lot of non-Black followers and what have you, and we welcome and appreciate that. But it's been tough. And like what Joy was bringing with some great humor right then, there are some who are wondering, well, why is this just tough? I mean, yes, it was. I'm frustrated too that a great judge, but it's different. It hits differently. You know, I had an opportunity this week to talk to y'all Sarah, Sharon and Joy a lot, my mama, and she couldn't watch, and she loves this type of stuff, but she stopped watching at some point in time on Tuesday because she was just struggling with watching somebody, as she said, that could be her daughter being handled so poorly by a bunch of white males. And y'all know how I feel about it. The whole week I kept feeling like I wish it could be Beam Me Up Scotty, like on Star Trek, where I can tag in for her and say all the things that she's thinking but can't say, because we know sister, she's from down there in the bottom, like Sharon. So you know she's thinking the thoughts, but she can't say them, but we can. And the four of us have individually on our platforms all this week, we've been saying it and tweeting it. And I have wanted to swing on all of the above. I wanted to knock out Holly. I wanted to knock out Cruz. I wanted to knock out Graham. Even wanted to slap old John Kennedy because he ain't much enough of a threat to hit because he's, you know, past the age limit to get a beating from me like that. And I'm joking somewhat, but I'm not.
You're not joking.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it is frustrating to see these cowards talk to a woman that way over some manufactured mess. Like Tom said, the anti-racist baby thing. And I know we're going to get deep into the weeds here soon because I really want to talk. I really want to spend some time with y'all tonight talking about who possesses the child porn. And trust, it ain't men that look like Tom or like Chuck Hobbs. All right. And so, you know, it's frustrating to get out. But yeah, Joy, the funny thing is what you referenced there. I saw a white woman get dragged for filth earlier this week because she tried to insinuate on somebody's post that she knew what the kitchen was.
Oh, Jesus Lord.
And when they started asking her, well, do tell us about this kitchen, what you know about the kitchen. And when she couldn't explain what the kitchen was, it went left. And I kept thinking to myself, why would you even put yourself in the cyber cut like that? Like no one even pointed and told you to pop out. All you had to do was just scroll by and you would have avoided the smoke.
In your lane.
Right.
The black people's business circle, you were completely out of it. I just, you know,
yeah.
It's amazing to me. And we're going to talk about a number of different things. We have a bunch of different things popped up in as elements. But it just reminds me of Marsha Blackburn asking Judge Brown Jackson to define what a woman is. And when you said that white woman said she could talk about what a kitchen is and she couldn't talk about what a kitchen is, it's like, it's people act like everything is so absolute. But before we even get into that, we do have a show rundown. We want to walk you through this path, and we want to walk you through this path the same way that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has had to walk a path to the Supreme Court. So we have a graphic here. This is the current composition of the Supreme Court, plus Judge Jackson. And as you can see, it looks like one of those checklists off a software package that you see that comes over your email, and it says, does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? So let's just look. So first, she attended a public high school, which already sets the stage for the sort of interrelation that she has with people, right? So Breyer went to public high school, so did Alito, and so did Kagan. So about half, just less than half of the court. Most of them, almost all of them, except for Amy Coney Barrett, have an Ivy League law school education. Famously, Judge Brown went to Harvard, where she met her husband. Most of them have also clerked for a Supreme Court justice. Sotomayor and Alito and Clarence Thomas did not, but everybody else did clerk. Now, only one of them, one of these justices not like the other, only one of them was a public defender, and that is Ketanji Brown Jackson. Only two, and one is retiring, have served on a sentencing commission. The person she is set to replace is the only other justice currently who's ever served on a sentencing commission. Only one other judge, and that Sotomayor, was a district judge. And everybody but Kagan was a Courts of Appeal judge. So you look at these boxes, right? You look at Alito. Alito ain't hardly got nothing. Quite frankly, Justice Thomas and Justice Barrett have only two of the boxes checked, and they're substantive boxes that are checked.
Right.
To be
This is
sure.
not did you cheerlead in high school box.
Right. No, this is, did you go to a good school? Did you clerk for the court to which you are seeking or are currently working? And were you a Court of Appeals judge? So Roberts, I don't recall undergoing questions about these sorts of things. Amy Coney Barrett was allowed to slip right through the cracks on abortion questions. And yet here's this highly qualified person who has an undeniable laundry list of qualifications and is still treated like someone who should be begging at the back of the house for a plate of scraps. And it is disgusting.
The most valuable thing, good evening, Sharpies. The most valuable thing about her credentials are the fact that what you see in that woman sitting there is someone who knows their credentials. Every time she squints her eyes, every time she tilts her head the other way, her grace that is understated, she knows who she is unequivocally. She's sitting there, she's going through the motion. She is breathing oxygen into the room. As much as it just incensed us on how she's being treated, she's literally sitting there like, next, next, next. And she gets to go home to a circle of support that's not only on her level, right? But she has lived an entire life of soldiering, right? In a way that graph illustrates her excellence, it's kind of like how Baraka Michelle had a flawless administration, right? No scandals, no questioning this.
No drama, Obama.
No drama, Obama. And one of the biggest things they spent time on is him wearing a tan suit. Okay,
well, but that tan suit was so scandalous that Ronald Reagan also wore it and nobody said anything.
Don't forget that he asked for arugula on a salad and had the nerve.
Grey Poupon mustard, some spicy mustard.
You know what I'm saying? See, I was blessed to get gifted this a year ago. And it's tight as hell on my face. I had to take it off. I just wanted to make it right. Oh, these cheeks.
Well, Wait, we lost
You
your
muted
volume.
yourself. There we go. Oh,
You know,
you must have hit the space bar. Okay.
I did, so excited about my tight thing, and somebody got a shirt in the mail coming my way. But she is so universal. She's almost average as a Black woman. Like, this is the woman of grace. When I say average, I don't mean she's average. I'm saying the average professional Black woman, right? She's full of grace. She's full of class. She's full of community, right? And they're massacring her record, looking for something, right? And then they also poking a bear. They're going down their right-wing agenda, marriage equality, define a woman, CRT, and then they're going to co-op their crazy right-wing agenda with child pornography. And what are those people called? QAnon. Then they're going to put forward the QAnon agenda, right? And we're all sitting there in disgust, and she's sitting there like this. In a few days, I'm going to be on that bitch. So much so, it caused, Clarence Thomas to go in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that? We could talk about 6 efforts. Remember, he was the Black Woman Massacre as well.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
He led the Black Woman Massacre. He is so overwhelmed with the fact that this woman is going to be. He got sick.
Listen, I don't wish anything. I don't wish any. I don't wish ill will on any person.
I didn't wish it.
No. But all I have to say is, virus, you go on ahead and be great.
He got out the hospital today, though.
Oh, I know he did, but that don't mean nothing.
No, Herman Cain got out the hospital too.
Sure did.
Yeah.
So, and got out the hospital and walked right into a scandal because somebody said that's why he even stayed in the hospital, because them texts Jenny's text came out and he was like, let me sit back. Let me sit back for a day or two. Let's see if this blows over. It ain't blown over nothing.
And you know what's interesting about that? This is just a speculation. I don't know this to be true, but we all know that Clarence has his issues in terms of not being black anymore. But Clarence is still a Black man in terms of physiology and all of that, and
phenotype.
And I am suspecting very strongly that we saw the memes, we saw the cartoons about how they are in collusion. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure Jenny wasn't sending those text messages just like she was drunk dialing Anita Hill about a decade ago, and Clarence found out about what she was texting and probably blew a gasket, probably was cussing, acting a fool. Next thing you know, he's clutching his heart, can't breathe. I just don't think he's that stupid to sit at the table and be like, "Hey, go ahead, text."
But here's the problem.
I don't think he's sitting at the table, but I think he's stupid.
Here's the problem, though.
Mm-hmm.
How many justices voted to deny the Mark Meadows documents to the Supreme Court? And how many of those justices that voted no were married to the 6 heifer who sent texts to Mark Meadows?
So
is that
Chuck,
the same person?
Tom, yes. I want Chuck to retract his statement.
I know that's right.
I think Tom just proved case against your statement.
The evidence,
counselor.
No. I need a retraction. I just broke that shit down.
I categorically retract every statement that I made earlier. Cunningham has broken till it is unbroken anymore. And you're right. The hell with both of them. But either way,
when the hell does Alito and Clarence Thomas disagree? They puppet one.
How about that?
Two. When the hell Clarence Thomas take a vote of one? We all know he a follower. When the fuck he become a leader?
Well,
when he pee whooped.
I
They need to impeach his ass.
Well, and that's the call. That's what's coming out. And see, this is why all of
A
this,
statement need to be made. They need
all
to
of this is getting real messy.
His ass. While a black woman is about to get confirmed, the single species that he vilified during his confirmation hearings.
Let's just get us two. Let's get Biden too.
Because I can foresee him coming down off of the bench for medical reasons now. So there's no need to do any sort of investigation with my wife, you know, we just gonna be over here.
Why are you sliding off into the corner?
We just gonna be over here chilling with our baked chicken and raisin salad. Just don't mind us.
Seasonless.
So
not even Lowry's. They take the Lowry's and bleach it.
So basically, Joy, you're thinking Sharon and Tom, then essentially, and I could get with this, which is what we have here is he knows that impeachment potentially could come. And because of it, it's like, I'm sick, ergo, I'm going to resign and avoid the whole possibility of getting dragged for filth for the rest of the year over now it's a got you.
He ain't resigning for shit. Right?
You don't think he'll resign?
I don't give Tom a lot of public praise. I need to give Tom some more praise for that case that he just dropped on your ass. Right? I want to be very clear. I'm about to
prosecution rest.
Right? Okay. Because Tom was like, I'm sorry. What? But the deep thing about it is you have to remember she is a leader of the insurrection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a better chance of him popping up dead than resigning. Okay? Because her to be... Okay, this fool, she made a fool of her husband because she thought she was Queen 6F'er and allowed him to vote no on something not even the rest of the Yahoo right-wingers would vote no on.
Well, it's a lot.
Let's understand that. That's a tall order for, they just thought he was just being diehard to who? Alito didn't vote no. Let's understand this. Then a few months later, his wife is texting the chief of staff. There is so much more to this shit. Because mind you, these text messages are getting drip.
CBS just got a whole tranche of them.
And for all you Sharpies out there, and the four of us need you to understand, SMS, which is the system your text messages are on, SMS are not confidential.
Never.
And they are never deleted.
You can't delete nothing.
The FBI, I'm telling you what a friend told me. The FBI got all your shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
If there's a reason to sniff around you or no reason at all, SMS ain't confidential for shit.
Period.
You all are watching text messages of the United States Congress and the President of the United States on his private contraption. Remember the email thing with Hillary was acid washed, right? Because you can't request emails. Stay on that Gmail, y'all. Stay with Google. I'm telling you. Okay? Stay with them iPhones. But all your apparatuses, the app that is the death knell, if there's something there, is called SMS. Your text
all
messages
green boxes on your phone
will fuck you.
Yeah, those three little dots that be tapping, they're like, I'm sending it. I'm sending it. I'm sending it. So it's this is only the first thing. We got to move on because there's a lot of stuff to cover in this show. But let it be known, and this is something that these are some talking points that Sharon popped into our show run. In the chat, put the number of Supreme Court justices who were appointed and confirmed but had never been a judge. Oh, jeez Louise. Jason Hayes. How many justices, and here's a no surprise, all of them were men. How many justices had never served as a judge before they were appointed to the Supreme Court? In 5, 4, 3, put it in the chat, 2, 1. Does anybody have any idea how many were never a judge out of all of the Supreme Court justices? 115. 40 of those white men never had served as a judge. 40, CJ, not 5, 40. 47 of them, 47 of those white men never even attended law school. So when Clarence goes, just call me. I'm good. I can talk real good on camera. And I look great in a black robe.
You know what this confirmation here reminds me of is the opening to the movie Selma, where Oprah Winfrey is trying to vote, and they're like, list all the governors of
the poll
about
tax
all the
exams.
poll questions, right? Recite the Greek alphabet backwards, and who's going to be on the ballot next week? Like all just kind of nonsense. They were finally started getting her with stuff that's impossible to answer, and they didn't know the answer either.
Right.
And that's the thing. She's being questioned in that moment by some illiterate hick who just happens to have the authority to let her in to vote. And they're questioning her excellence. And she's just looking at them like, and she named every senator, congressman, governor that they asked her to name. And then they just started making up stuff after that. You know, define woman. Same shit.
Why are babies anti-racist? I mean, this is our history. This is the thing, and critical race theory entered into the conversation, so this is a good segue onto it. But this is a situation where history is now being memory holed because it has been defined as critical race theory. It's not even a theory. It's just facts. A theory, especially critical race theory, which is a construct used for graduate school examinations of certain historical frameworks in the United States. This is just history. Those exams existed. And those exams existed only to be used against black people.
That's where the phrase, I think I mentioned this before, this is where the phrase grandfathered in
comes from.
Because you didn't have to go through the rigorous examination to get your voter's registration if your grandfather did it.
Right.
And the part that really bothers me is that this isn't ancient history, right?
No, hell no.
Depending on where your parents, because all of us are in our 40s or 50s, depending on where your parents grew up, they paid poll taxes. They took literacy tests. They were prevented from voting, all right? I mean, again, this isn't ancient history. I mean, these things only went completely away in 1965 when Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act. So if it
not even completely away.
And not even completely away. I mean,
yeah, we're still getting voting cages. We're still shutting down precincts. We're still unplugging voting machines in Georgia. We're still closing all but 2 voting centers in an entire state of Alabama. I mean, there's lots of things that have substituted for this Jim Crow 2.0 that we are doing. And thank you, Sharpies, for coming in. This is a hot episode. We have 71 people in the stream, and we have hundreds and hundreds of comments because we are serving it to you hot and spicy. Another person who tried to get spicy, but she wasn't even as spicy as French's mustard, is Miss Blackburn.
Yeah, she's stupid.
And you see this expression. Ketanji has the baby, what is you doing?
Right.
That's her expression because Marsha Blackburn wanted to know about the definition of a woman. And let's look at this headline. She asked Ketanji Brown Jackson to define woman. Science says there's no simple answer. Now, the Bible may say Adam and Eve, but science says, intersex, asexual, I mean, there's all these things that exist. They are real things. These are human beings. It's not theoretical. These are people. And So for you to say, well, it should be a simple thing, such and such and such and such. Well, but I mean, you have Caster Semenya from South Africa, a woman who was prevented from running in the Olympics because she has too much androtestosterone or whatever the specific male dominant hormone is, but always been a woman. But because she's got too much testosterone, she can't run.
Unless she injects herself
with a drug,
extra hormones to suppress
to
all of that
counteract
and make it easier for her competitors to catch her.
So God created.
They never did that to Michael Phelps, though.
Sure didn't. With his damn near gill having ass. I mean, come on. Michael Phelps might as well have been Aquaman up in this piece.
Why didn't they make him take like lactic acid pills or something?
Right.
When he was training to make sure he didn't get super strong. You know?
Right.
That's just a natural ability.
Right.
This white boy.
And so you have all these people who are trying to do all these things. And, you know, you have to give credit. This is a sister who looked at that. Here, look at the expression again. I think Viola Davis is probably gonna have to play Ketanji Brown Jackson too, because she got the Michelle Obama purse lips. She gonna get the Ketanji purse lips too. But this is a woman who said, "You know whose trap into which I am not going to step? Yourn.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no traps for me. Ain't no snares. God has delivered me from all the snares. I'm gonna do this."
Well, y'all, it's the equivalent of this, and I think it might have been Sharon who alluded to this earlier. I'm not sure, but the beauty of our sister's Grace Under Fire this week is, and we're all Greek, everybody's either a Delta or Kappa. It's the equivalent of you're trying to pledge and you know you've got the votes and you're just trying to make sure that when you go to the interest meeting or the smoker or whatever they call it, that you don't fuck it up, right? That's essentially what it was coming down to for Sister Ketanji Jackson. She did a great job. At the end of the day, Joe Biden knew or knows that he's got the votes. There's no mystery. She's going to be confirmed. So the only thing that could happen potentially was for her to draw herself into a long, protracted debate with people who are not her intellectual equals. So I commend her for, like, again, but she was serving face. Her facial expressions were worth 1,000 words all week. And we all knew what we were seeing at the moment that we were seeing the looks. And I give her all praise because she handled the thing this week.
Yeah, this is her expression.
Yeah.
And this is from The Onion. But sometimes The Onion is so accurate, it's a little scary. Because that's exactly like the vibe. She's like, my God.
Do I want this?
I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the first Black female Supreme Court justice. But I've got to be around these people.
Right. You got to go to work every day with people that hate you and you hate them, and they just as soon shoot you and you just as soon pee in their water. Like just Sugar Avery pee all in their water every day.
Mm-hmm. Miss Seeley, you has my sympathies.
Now, while Blackburn is trying to question whether Judge Brown Jackson can answer a scientific impossibility of what defines a woman, this chick don't even know what's in the Constitution.
Real.
The GOP senator. So what y'all may not know is she sent a tweet saying that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is in the Constitution.
Oh, okay.
It's granted us in the Constitution.
News to me.
It's granted, yes.
So she got it wrong twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
As so many people on Twitter got into her, like basically all of Twitter was like, is you volunteering for drag?
Right. Are you volunteering? Right. Is you volunteering?
But
right.
beyond the constitutional foolishness, in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are granted by our Creator.
Right.
Not by that piece of paper.
Can't take that from us.
Right. Nothing can take it away from you because it's granted from a divine authority. And here you are talking about the Constitution gives us. No, girl, it doesn't. And you need to run right on back to that Tennessee holler by the creek and do what you need to do. Because, you know, it's some opossums out there that need some good eating. It's some roadkill that you can work with. What you don't need to do is try to school an actual judge on the Constitution. Here you are, a senator, swearing an oath to uphold, and you might as well be reading the back of a Toll House cookie recipe.
It's one
I
of
mean,
the
that's where
things
they get their facts from.
It's one of the things I despise the most about my native South. It's there are a lot of things that I love. There are a lot of things I despise. But when I hear those accents, like the John Kennedys, like the Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, Marshall Blackburn from Tennessee, heaven forbid if something crazy were to happen and our Morehouse brother Raphael Warnock was not sent back to the Senate and loses to Herschel. I mean, these people really think that, elevating ignorant people to prominent positions is something that's cool. And I just would like for the Republican Party to make intelligence okay again. I mean, forget trying to make America great again, because we can debate all day about whether it ever was great. Well, and I'm of the opinion that it's all right. It's all right in some spots, not so great in many, many, many others. But they seem to, and I often put in my blog about the modern day know-nothings, that party really has an affinity for being know-nothings these days. And again, there's no reason on earth somebody like Herschel Walker should even be mentioned in the same goddamn sentence as Raphael Warnock.
Nope.
Yet here we are actually having to raise money for a re-election that should be a shoo-in against an idiot like Herschel Walker. And he might be the Mensa candidate compared to Tommy Tuberville or Marshall Blackburn or some of these other idiots that are sitting in the Senate from the South. So shame on Dixie for continuing to send fools and sycophants up to the congressional halls in Washington, D.C. It makes me sick.
I'll tell you what I thought. Go ahead, Sharon.
I don't want us to leave the Marsha Blackburn atrocity too fast, right? Okay. Because this is also part of the building of their agenda. And one thing I want, we always try to drop little lessons in these conversations. One thing I want you to know, the right wing is attempting to redefine, to erase gender as the checkbox and go back to the word sex, right? As much as, those are just offensive words around children. Sex is defined as an individual's biological status, as male, female, or something else. Sex is assigned at birth and associated with physical attributes such as anatomy and chromosomes. Joy. And they are now saying gender got too broad because we're now dealing in the world of gender expression and identity. So gender is the cultural roles, the behaviors, the activities, and attributes expected of people based on their sex. So I only bring this up because Marsha Blackburn's attempt to want her to define woman, right, is because we already see how stupid she is. So she couldn't handle that whole breakdown in an intellectual way to ask her to define the difference between sex and gender to get to the point she was trying to make. She just had to dumb it down to ask a woman to define woman, right? And expect that to, and what did Sister Girl, she was like, I'm not a biologist, right? She wasn't going to play. She wasn't going to take the hand, right? Marsha would have fumbled it, right? She would have fumbled it because she was trying to make that transition. The only reason I bring that up, Joy, I'm going to hand it right back to you. They are attempting in state legislatures to line out. Remember from the last show, I've been knee deep in looking at these pieces of legislation, Chuck, for the last week, just to figure out their strategy. Their strategy now is to line out gender everywhere that had overtaken in previous legislatures, and lining out the word gender and putting the word sex back in. And that is what she was attempting to do. Joy?
I was just going to say, first of all, understand how innately intelligent Judge Jackson had to be to say, I'm not a biologist. There's a lot of ways she could have fumbled and fallen into that trap of, well, I don't know if I'm capable of giving a definition. I don't want to speak to that. Or you refuse to answer the question. I don't know if I have a definitive answer for that. Oh, you don't know the answer. All these other questions. She said, I'm not a biologist, leaving it to the scientists to define a very complex situation. There was a perfect answer. And what I want to touch on, the reason I bring this up is perfection is always demanded of Black people
It
trying to
is.
move into a white space. You have to dot every I, cross every T, make sure everything is colored within the lines perfectly. Any deviation from perfection is failure, which is why so many of us suffer from high blood pressure, have stress in our lives, having
Yes.
heart attacks and palpitations at 35, 31, 23. That's why the suicide rate is high, because this country, which has failed completely in eradicating us, is trying to get us to kill ourselves.
Amen, Joy. Amen.
Well, and you know this is something that we on this panel can appreciate, but the subtle read to "I'm not a biologist" is neither are you, ho.
Neither are you, ho. Yeah, she said that in her mind. I'm gonna say she got a steady running ratchet thing in her mind.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. She was, and I'm gonna pull this out because we haven't played this in a while, but this is exactly what was going on in her head.
Hoes mad, 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 hoes.
I just, as I watched her, and it was literally like on some Hannibal Lecter or like just some Sherlock Holmes, where she's walking through like the minefield, and she's just like, yeah, these stilettos are not gonna get broken up. I'm just letting you know. I'm just gonna walk like this. I'm gonna step around, and y'all are trying to bait me like, come on, no, don't look at that mine right in front of you. Just keep walking straight ahead. And she's like, not a biologist.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
And don't
they could
underestimate,
not.
she may have had to deal with that issue in a court case, right?
Well,
She-
but
she has to
also,
be schooled on this level of detail in the courtroom.
but let's remember too, she's not a biologist, but what her husband's job is.
Mm-hmm. Medical doctor.
He's
She
a
know her
doctor.
She know her
So-
lane.
And this is one thing, you know, we touched on it before, but this is one thing about her husband that I had to give her mad props about. So I've been reading about him and the type of man that he is. When he was doing his residency, he would end his shift, you know, residents might be 24-hour shifts, whatever. He would go to court to watch his wife work. Or his lady. I don't know if they were married at that time while he was doing his residency. He would leave the hospital and go and watch her
Nice.
kicking it. Like, do your thing, babe. Or baby. Or baby. He's a Brahmin, so he probably has one of those accents. But, you know, that's the sort of man he is. And a lot of people give a lot, you know, there's Kamala Harris faced a lot of drama for marrying her white spouse, but she met him later in life. Judge Brown met her husband in school, and they were stuck together since school and have children together as a whole family. So people talk about, oh, white husband, whatever. She raising 2 black daughters, y'all.
Basically.
Let's be clear. And even if they are complected like Joy, they still black.
Bruh.
I mean, okay.
The yellow man himself called you out.
Okay, here, let me.
I thought we
okay.
was in this. How you gonna do me dirty like that?
So the point is that this is an exceptional woman.
Yeah.
And you know, I for one don't think, because there were other potential nominees that were married to black men. But it just so happens that when you are trying to make sure you get a black woman through, don't be confused. Last year, she got approved by this Senate to her current position.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike Amy Coney Barrett, who had like 8 years since she had last been confirmed, so there's a lot more to go through. You just went through all this Michigas with her last year. So ain't that much happened. So you can't pretend all of a sudden she's the worst person ever, because she got bipartisan
Three
support
times,
last
sweetheart.
time. No,
Three
I'm
times.
saying Right, but I'm saying the latest one was just last year. So, unlike these other circumstances where somebody was appointed, Kavanaugh, back during Bush and had done this, that, and the third, and all this other stuff, there's no daylight between her last appointment and this confirmation. So you got to really struggle, and that's why we got Anti-Racist Baby, CRT, and Ain't I a Woman.
Right.
That's what you got for her over 3 days. Those were the things. And bear in mind, none of these Republican senators had any sort of hope that they were going to be able to derail this nomination, because by their own fault, they insisted on the 50 vote threshold for SCOTUS nominees.
Yep.
That's you, Mitch.
You reap what you reap.
They got they 3.
That's you, Mitch.
Yep.
You got them. You did get them, especially when you held on to Merrick Garland, which you shouldn't have even had been able to do, but okay, you did it. You got your 3. We're getting our 1. Get Clarence cough a lot one more time to the hospital, and we might get a 2. So they knew that they weren't going to stop it, and yet they still did this because they knew if they yelled loud enough, Hawley, Cornyn, if they yelled loud enough, they'd get on Fox News so that they could burnish their credentials for the upcoming election season and to burnish their political ambitions as presidential nominees.
I want to do a small segue, staying on family and her circle. Outside of the adorable family that Tom just highlighted, or strong spouse, what we also have to recognize, her entire life, her entire adult life has been surrounded with 3 strong Black women sisters.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
That are her colleagues.
Yeah.
From the time, the beginning. All these 4 Black women stories, that's who it was based on. I'm making that up. But there's a circle of 4, right? Of all these, what they say, TV models, real life, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But those 4 sisters, I did a lot of studying on them this week. From their undergrad days, they've been in each other's weddings. They're each other's godmothers to their kids. One of them has battled cancer. But these are thick as thieves, to the point that the 4 of them were roommates at one time.
Yeah.
And then the sister that introduced her real BFF, they're all lawyers, all 4 of them, right? They're all Harvard grad lawyers, right? And we always talk about PWIs, and we always forget to mention when those Black student unions are a beast, right? But they found village amongst each other.
Yes.
They found a sisterhood and a village amongst each other, and they're still together today. Not many of us could say that. 4 women and none of them fell out with each other. That's a lot, right? So her anchoring, her amazing HBCU alum parents, and she's second generation, right? She grew up down the street, where when you got parents like that, especially in the late 60s, post 1965 Voting Rights Act, all they wanted us to do was go to Ivies, right? If you were in that talented 10th of your school, and integration was at its height, right? And the few of us that were tapped, that were able to get huge portfolios of HBCUs, that was a calling. But them PWIs was breaking down the door. And if Harvard is warning people, breaking down the door, you going to Harvard, period, right? The fact that she found village, when she talked about persevere, when she talked about, it was constantly Black people influence, that she proudly, but she is deeply anchored in her Blackness. She took an opportunity and she stuck to the course. She stayed the course that her parents designed, and she excelled exponentially with a circle. So however her and her husband got together, God bless them, she never lost her anchor of sisterhood and her Blackness, right? That's been the biggest takeaway for me emotionally, especially in Sisterhood Month, as we are in the month of March, just to even see the 4 of them, just the amount of stories that's been told about them, and that their individual families became their collective family.
Right.
And everything married, from her spouse to those beautiful girls. Look at the role models that her daughters have, not just her, but those 3 other aunties.
Right.
And you better know that
Yeah. That's
You
right.
better know that that village every night is in prayer with each other. Every night. Her parents are in that audience. Her father's an Omega, by the way,
Yeah, man of
and from
Omega. So
North Carolina Central,
get
right?
it straight.
And I can't even imagine. I can hear her parents saying, "This ain't shit, right? We got
Oh,
this." You know how we grew up, right? You can hear her parents. You know what we went through, right?
right.
And to be the excellent people that we are, that we raised you to be. So this kabuki theater that's going on in these hearings, Chuck, and the reality of all her demeanor is her anchoring, right? And the people that chose to break through to stand up to champion her gave her a minute to exhale, right?
Yeah.
But that village, that sisterhood that she has been with for over 30 years, right? I mean, they're holding her down. Her whole narrative is just something to be in awe of, right? Her whole narrative is to be in awe of. And we were all really just introduced to this person, right? She is that magic, you know, bud that is blossoming right in front of us.
I mean, you think about what the generation of her parents had to go through in terms of sit-ins and marches and everything. She got to sit in air conditioning for 3 days and look at some stupid people who were trying to press her, and she was unpressable. She was just like, I'm just gonna sit here singing Queen Latifah lyrics in my head while until the Democrats get to say something, and I'm just going, you and I, T-Y.
I feel differently.
Yes.
I feel differently. I feel like she's sitting there with that look on her face, watching them, you know, staring them in their eye with that, like, I'm better than you stare. And she's thinking in her head the lyrics from, you know, Poet Laureate Trillville. You can never, ever, ever, ever get on my level, ho. Like, all of it. I feel like
You said Trillville.
yes, I had to
Ye
go there on you.
gods.
'Cause that's the face she was making. She's like, are you really this stupid or am I high? Like, what is happening right now? Like, you can never, ever. Ain't nobody in there smart as her.
Mm-mm.
Ain't nobody in the room, including the current SCOTUS people, qualified as her. You know? So, and going back to something Sharon said, when you know what you're worth, can't nobody take that from you. I don't care what you say. I'm just gonna sit here and wait y'all out, and y'all talk amongst yourselves because you clearly ain't talking to me because you ain't saying shit. So
Nothing.
go ahead.
Nothing.
I'm giving the ratchet version of what's in her mind. I'm sure
Right.
her mind is much more circumspect and educated than what I'm saying at the moment. However, that's what she means.
Well, you were playing Ketanji Brown Jackson's anger translator, just like Obama had Luther on Key and Peele.
She got, you know, Aisha.
Yeah, she got Aisha over there. He said, "Never, never be on my level." Ho.
Right.
And this is, I guess this is one of the bright spots. You talked earlier about when America was great. I think when I was sitting in California on election night in 2008, and as soon as the polls closed, they said Obama is the president will be the next president of the United States. It was a minute, like literally it was like, and the last poll is closed, Obama's president. And we just all started screaming. We were there with our kids. Kathy was pregnant. I mean, it was nuts. It was crazy. And we sat there and we were just yelling and looking at the other black people who were in the room. We were over at somebody's house and they had their kids. They were up and we were just sitting there. We were watching the election returns. We were like, oh, okay, this looks good. You know, such and such and thus and so. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at all those votes. Da-da-da-da-da. And we were just like, okay, come on. And it was 8:01 when the polls closed. They said Obama is the next president. America was great. Like, for those 3 minutes, America was super great. It was also pretty good on January 21st, 2009.
I was freezing my tail off at inauguration. I'm pretty sure this little boy that was laying on the ground close to us, I think he died of frostbite. I never did see a little kid again, but I was so glad to have been in that number that day.
Yeah, no. So we have, and this is another example for me, just seeing that, you know, like when Lanny Guinier was being put forth as a potential nominee, and they mercilessly attacked her, and she had to withdraw. This is just that this is the one. And when Manchin came out and said, nope, I'm voting for her, it was like, okay, well, we might as well just pack up. Ain't nothing we could do. So, bye. We're going to be salty. We're going to yell about it. But nobody on the Judiciary Committee decided they were going to try to boycott to prevent it from moving forward. They were trying to say, if we don't get these child porn sentencing, blah, blah, blahs, then we're just going to hold everything up. But they fell apart like a house of cards. And Hawley, again, he of the mugs that the newspaper that owns the rights to the image are like, no, you can't sell those. He was like, well, I'm only going to do it if everybody else does it. There's a word for that I won't use on this show, but there's a word, and all of us on this panel know it, and it's been enumerated in numerous rap lyrics, but it's somewhat misogynistic, so I won't say it. But y'all know what word I'm talking about, and that's him. Mm-hmm. So if you gonna be about that life, then be about that life. Don't be half about that life just because nobody else is gonna join you. You already got your little Fox News moment, so it doesn't really matter. You got Hannity and Laura Ingram's lying ass, co-signing on your foolishness, and so I guess you did what you thought you needed to do. You still ain't gonna be president,
right? Yeah.
So good luck with that.
Yeah,
good luck with that.
And my homeboy Jason Hayes makes a great point. Be clear, all of them clowns are auditioning for 2024. I think that's pretty clear. Again, the votes were already there. This was much ado about nothing to a great extent this week. Mm-hmm. She had to deal with the foolishness because it's just a part of the process. But at the end of the day, it is pole positioning, so to speak. You've got DeSantis down here in Florida, is considered the number 2 guy behind Trump should he try to run again in 2024. And then you've got now Cotton, you've got Hawley, you've got Cruz trying to get back at it again. So clearly all of those guys knew good and well that, the whole child porn thing, like Tom just said, was going to fall like a house of cards or a deck of cards and what have you. It was shallow to begin with. I think that one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I'm going to say it on the show because I've written it for 2 days straight, 8 out of 10 child porn possessors in America are white men. I'm going to say this again. 8.
Why are you holding up a napkin?
Yeah, 8 out of 10 child porn possessors are white men. In my own career, everybody that I ever represented who was charged with possessing child porn, was a white male. Never had a brother that was charged with that. Brothers do some other shit, but kitty porn is not generally our wheelhouse, right?
No.
So
matter of fact.
Yeah, and so
I'm gonna go y'all out on
right
a
up there with the
segue. Say what?
Opioids. You said opioids. That's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's they shit.
We just like to smoke weed and look at booties. I mean, we ain't even doing all of that. But so, fun fact: the proliferation of waxing, shaving, cleaning. See that face right there, cleaning all that out. So that all started because they had several white female pornography stars who did double duty. They were small and petite enough to pretend to be children to produce kiddie porn, but for kiddie porn, you had to be completely hairless because children don't have hair. Then they would turn around and do adult porn, but they still shaved up, and they started to creep into adult porn because you could see things better, blah, 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 blah. So then it moved into mainstream. The women are doing bikini waxes, and then on to Brazilians, and then on to no land and strip at all of that smooth, clean babies ass stuff. That's children. You look like the child. Now, I do understand that there's some women that say they feel it's more hygienic, they feel better about it, they like it. So that's your preference. I'm not dogging that at all. I did it once. I ain't doing this shit again because it hurt and stupid. But do what you want. But all of that comes from the majority men in this country saying they liked hairless women because they look more like children. Do you understand how that flows? Meanwhile, Chuck over here making face. I heard many a black man say, I like my women to look grown. I appreciate them because I'm gonna look grown.
Well, and
this is the after dark. Excuse me, Tom, real quick.
Oh, so, yeah, we getting real. We started so Topical news, MSNBC.
All right, go ahead, Charles. I ain't gonna say it. Go
Do
ahead.
what you got to do, bro. Do what you
No,
got to
I'm
do.
just saying. Go ahead. We're at the top of the. We're at the bottom of the hour. So go on ahead.
Jason spoke for y'all. Jason spoke for y'all.
I'll keep it a buck, like the kids say.
Okay.
The last time, it's been well over a decade. It's going on almost 15 years since the last time me and my close crew of friends from Morehouse have stepped foot in a strip club, for the very reason that Joy was just talking about. We realized that, number one, the young ladies that were in there could be our children. I mean, by the time you're 36, 37, you're like, wait a minute, this theoretically could be.
She went to school with my daughter. Yeah.
Right. And then number two, the other part of it was what Joy just described. And it's just like, this is not our venue. We were like, if you ever find that there's a Rolex alumni club or a King of Diamonds alumni club,
Blue Flame.
Yeah, Blue Flame alumni, where the strippers are 50 and above. We'll go back maybe on milestone birthdays. But outside of that, the club ain't for us no more because they look like little
Jason is on a roll.
Kids, right?
No, Blue Flame dancers have too many bullet holes to be children. So
Right.
stab wounds.
Stab wounds.
That'd be a real tough elementary school.
Hey, man. I swear Jason got all the good zingers.
Wait, what is Jay saying now? Oh, Jason.
Florida style.
Híjole.
I'm clutching my pearls, Joy. I'm like, where is this about to go?
I'm sorry.
There it is, Jay.
So not out the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Looking like the Lady of Rage in a bathing cap. She rocks rougheth and stuffeth with her afro puffets.
Wait, one of my friends said that's the only Bush they want to make great again.
God damn y'all to hell. So
I said, I'm gonna take the wheel, Tom. I'm about to take the wheel.
okay, so let's before we
don't
get too far out of everything, let's steer things back to a slightly different course. We have talked a lot about Ketanji Brown Jackson, but she is not the only person who is a person who is interacting with people from the Capitol who is also adjacent to some justice-related activities. So we have this cat, Jeff Fortenberry, guilty of 3 felonies in his campaign contributions case. Now, this is a man who legitimately tried to claim he didn't know he was lying to the FBI about the foreign contributions to his campaign because of cell reception.
What?
Wow.
You said he had no bars. What?
Can you hear me now? Foreign contributions?
No.
What? Foreign what? No. No. Surprisingly, the jury did not find that compelling, and so he was found guilty on 3 different counts, one of which was lying to the FBI, which carries a sentence of 5 years. He's got 3 different charges that carry sentences of up to 5 years. There have been immediate calls for him to resign because, some people, I guess, in his state of Nebraska have a sense of shame. And if you are a convicted felon, then maybe you shouldn't hold on to your seat. And so the House managers are actually saying, I mean, it's kind of in our rules. You kind of can't do that.
Sorry.
You need to step aside. Go ahead and prepare for your appeal and your defense, but you won't be doing it as this employee. So, hooray. Thank you, Nebraska. And Nebraska's kind of split. So maybe depending on what district he was representing in Nebraska, there's a possibility we could flip that. I guess it remains to be seen.
Hope there's some space in there for Jenny.
Oh, well, that's the thing. We kind of danced off of that. It's not even so much a matter of Clarence resigning and or dying as much as Jenny gonna be facing some charges, y'all. Ain't gonna be no. She is a political machine unto herself. She heads a political machine, and she is in that dark money. As milky as she is, she's in a dark money zone. But them Texases.
Chuck, break it down for us.
Break down the Texases.
Here's what it really comes
or
down to.
what she's actually doing.
Yeah.
And how it can be brought to justice.
Flipped.
Sure. The honest truth is, from what I have read so far, it depends on whether or not they try to rope her into some form of conspiracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
With respect to, you got to tie it into January 6th, because
Right.
you could make the argument that sending text messages prior to January 6th, hey, Mark, you stand up for this guy. It's pretty much just advocacy. That's all right. But what I sense, based upon if she was that buck to make those text messages to former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows prior to January 6th, they, like you all have alluded, they are slow rolling the text messages. They haven't done a straight dump yet. It's like, we got a whole lot of more. Like Clubber Lang said in Rocky 3, they got a whole lot of more. You got to figure that at some point in time, they are going to be able to tie Jenny Thomas into the entire apparatus of attacking the Capitol on January the 6th in some way, shape, or form. I also strongly suspect that if they are capable of doing that, she is going to be the linchpin within which you can tie the direct link to former President Donald Trump, because she's got that type of access, right? She is who she is. She's there chilling with Mark Meadows, typing back and forth. Got to assume that somewhere along the way, they're going to pull out that she was part and parcel of the whole. We're going to go over there to the Capitol. We're going to literally stop the steal. And then that could create some form of criminal charges for her, in the greater art of also trying to see whether some form of charges could or could not be pressed against Mr. Meadows, Mr. Trump himself, the Trump Uday and Kusei, the sons, Donald and other boy. There's a lot to be waiting for. But I'm
Donald and other boy.
In an immediate sense, where what needs to be watched for her is that she is a practicing lawyer. And so what's going to be also interesting is from the ethical standpoint. We've already seen where Rudy Giuliani got caught up in the snare about a year and a half ago, where they went after and took his license. Her ability to earn is about to be impacted just as soon as whoever, I'm not sure where she's barred. I'm not sure if it's Virginia, Maryland, or DC, but wherever it is, that's coming up in the immediate future for her. And that's going to be bearing watching also, which again relates back to her husband, which is what's going to happen to him. I was very much listening to everything we were talking about earlier, and I keep, Vera Jordan made a great point earlier. I still, y'all, am not certain that Clarence doesn't try to get out of this, because, again, I know he's arrogant. I know that, he's part and parcel of the whole us versus them type of thing. But he's 72, 73 years old. I'm wondering if his arrogance is such that he has to understand he does not have the complexion for the protection. Meaning he's not Alito. He's not his former best friend Scalia. He's still a Negro. And at the end of the day, he's expendable, right? I mean, he really is. There are a whole lot of people who will shrug their shoulders about him and aren't going to go to the mat for him like they would even a Donald Trump or someone else. So it's going to be interesting if he has any iota of sense left, to the point where it's like, I'm 72. Maybe I bow out, go and get me a law professorship at one of these schools that'll give me 6 figures to come and lecture 1 hour a day, every day. I can make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars per speech for the Heritage Foundation and all of these other 6F organizations that will pay him handsomely to play the role of Samuel Jackson in Django Unchained. And so with that in mind, I think we have to continue to watch going forward whether or not he quits, because it seems like the smart play for him. But like Sharon said, I'm not so sure how smart he is. But if I was in his shoes right now, I'd be dropping papers, because I'm like, hey, let me go ahead and get this money and let me get the hell out of Dodge before they come for me, because I'm still a Negro over here. And I know I've propped up white supremacy for years, but I'm still a Negro. So I don't know.
Well, you said it best with Django, right? That's exactly who he is. And the difference, the reason I will continue to push back is he's never been anything else.
Yeah.
He's not even given us a small glimpse
Yeah.
And again, hats off, Tom Detective. The breakdown, I mean, the only way that that could even resemble a possible truth, Chuck, is if the justices, if it's those 5
Hmm.
taken to the woodshed.
Okay.
Because the rest of them no matter. It was have to start with John Roberts,
Yeah.
who I believe would bring it to his attention, right?
Yeah.
Because what he has just done is assaulted the integrity of the court.
Indeed.
See, if you
Absolutely.
take it, we got to be who we are. We got to be a little intellectual here. He
Yeah.
has assaulted the integrity of the court,
Hmm.
and by that insult, that could cause them. And John Roberts has done this before, not out loud, but it would take somebody like Breyer to first light the match,
Hmm.
right? And that's the person to do it. It won't be done because he's on his way out. And if they start rumbling, because everybody else dead, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
So you got to have somebody to throw the match, right? It's already lit. We just need somebody to throw it. So Breyer can do that.
Hmm.
John Roberts can prevail as the reasonable one he's been doing for the last several years, but it will have to be for them, by them to take him out.
Well, and that's
I
one
think
thing
his
about.
wife is so fucking far gone that she will tell him to write it out.
Well, to your point, Sharon, Roberts has one of the reasons that has been noted why he kind of has played a little bit more of a moderating force than one might have expected from a Republican appointed chief is that he does care about legacy. He cares about the legacy of his court. And this is a stain on his court. And so if something were to happen, I don't even know if it would be Breyer first, although it well could be. I mean, he could make a statement that would, put some intense focus on Thomas.
Hmm.
But if charges come against Jenny,
Hmm.
that could be the tipping point where Roberts is like, this is not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, you're going to have to recuse yourself, period. Because, just Trump rode everything, every single thing he tried to run it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And so your wife is involved in this now. You would have to step aside for anything that is even moderately January 6th adjacent, which means you'd basically have to recuse yourself on all of this stuff. Not to mention, she is now being criminally charged. It's not even just a matter of the text. If criminal charges are filed, right, if criminal charges are filed for conspiracy, for suborning, whatever, she was at the rally. She didn't march, but she was there waving her little flag, having her little flag pin, and encouraging people. And then she's wrote checks. And then ever since the text chain started November 10th and ran all the way through.
Hmm.
So let's be clear. When the official determination that Biden had won came down, that's when she started those texts. So that's November 10th through December 10th through January 6th and beyond. So you're talking 3 months-ish.
Yeah, she's in it.
She's in it. 21 something, 20 plus text messages. And every single one hold the... Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I don't text my best friend that much. I'm just saying it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot of text. It's a lot of text.
It is.
I want to throw this up because we were talking about it before. Look at the love that Judge Brown Jackson's daughter is looking at her. She like, that's my mama.
Hmm.
I don't know what your mama like, but that's my mama. And her little purple suit with no buttons.
Yeah.
That is a daughter who is proud of her mother. And you can't fake that. Like you ain't never seen Eric or Donald look at their daddy like that.
At all.
Ever. You ain't never seen Melania look at Donald like that.
She look like him.
That's what I'm saying. So, Sharon, deliver us the Cory Bookerishness, please.
Well, people have been chomping at it as if they would even think we would forget about it, right? We just want to save it for a nice, close to juicy close. So you really can't make this segment political, right? You have to understand when the man said, I'm not going to let my joy be stolen, right? Corey is like the son, brother, best friend black woman could ever have, right? The way he stood in that moment not only resurrected his whole image, right? No more speeches. We're like, I missed that Corey. I said, that Corey didn't care nothing about his title, right? Didn't care nothing about his politics. That Corey was speaking for Black America.
Yeah.
That Corey was speaking for the soul of the moment. That Corey wanted to give her, that beautiful Black woman in her locks with the Crown Act passing the same damn week.
Blam.
Okay, we ain't gonna forget nothing, people. With the Crown Act passing, Corey said, you know what? Yeah, we've had a Black president. We enjoyed it, but I'm about to take y'all to the hood. I'm about to take y'all to the family reunion, right? I'm about to explain that I'm not going to sit here as one of 2 Black people of 100. Again, another lesson. That's 2% of the cent, and we 12% of the population. I got issues, people. I got issues, right? So Corey decided, I'm going to use my platform, right? Very similar to how Kamala has been using her platform to make sure HBCUs get everything they want and need and ain't even thought of having, right? He said, I am in this gallery, in this hearing, one of the highest ranking Black people in this country. And I have watched this assault on my sister, and I need to break for a minute and contextualize that this is just kabuki theater. I need to give her a minute to shed her tears of joy amongst the pain. And he wanted to speak for all of us to make it very, very clear. You ain't gonna break this sister. We are not gonna allow it. She was born for this moment. And I want to give all of you a lesson on the modern day oppression that you all are attempting to do with Negroes who are at the highest perch of their existence, that you dare still play the Jim Crow card. You dare still play the we ain't worthy card. Dare play we must be over qualified to even be at the table, and still got to put up with y'all bullshit, right? Corey sat up there, and when he threw that, you are not going to steal my joy, when he decided to equate his Black parent experience, second generation HBCU alum parents high five with her, his Ivy League track to Yale, her Ivy League track to Harvard, to say there are many of us white people, and we are proud to say we came from HBCU alums that took advantage of the moments that they didn't have, but we still gonna bring it back home because that's where we are today, that we are lifting up our institutions appropriately. I am sitting at this perch of one of 2 Black people in the U.S. Senate that have the power to say she's going to be the next member of the United States Supreme Court, right? So when I think about how he dismissed them, he said, I know we're not going to sit here. And he pulled up somebody that's talking down to you that's part of this conservative conspiracy wing, and he talked about them like they were QAnon. Like, we know they crazy, boo, and we just gonna let them talk. And then the best part when he said, because he only got 5 more people behind me to put up with this shit. So yes, take a minute. I'm gonna give you time to get emotional so you can regather yourself, right? And we're gonna take on these 5, and then it's still not over, but you get to sit back and laugh as we continue this theater, this mockery of this assembly that I have been duly elected for, right? Because when I see you, all I see is a bad black woman. I mean, he's like, I don't mean to reduce all your degrees, all your credentials. I don't want to take away all your excellence, but I want to say out loud, all I see right now is my mama. All I see right now is beautiful black queen. And the way he held up the institution of black womanhood, the way he held up the sisterhood, the way he held up the black family experience, right, was magical.
Amen.
Right? It was magical.
Amen.
It was stupendous.
Mm-hmm.
It was electric. It gave all of us, man, woman, family, child, the opportunity to shed some tears of joy as it allowed us to wash the pain of the moment. He allowed us to find the grace, the dignity in the moment and say, this is just that sixth effort to just cut me off on the highway, but I need to go on and get to my business.
Amen.
I just want to add on to that, like, because I deal with a lot of like DE&I stuff in corporate spaces, and for me, what I saw in that moment was the two black people at work, the only two in the building, and you have this black woman who's being put through the ringer, and then here comes the black man in her, hey girl, hey sis, I see you, we got you, you got this, we love you. In that moment, like the tears that she cried were pride and joy and relief and release and able to vent, because she probably wanted to cry a lot of times in anger and frustration at the fuckery they were putting her through. But here is a moment for her to release some of that in a safe moment with her and Corey. I see you, I got you, you got this. Ain't nobody taking this from us. She needed to hear that in that moment too. He represented all 12 million of us, however many of us are here. He represented all 12% of us in that moment. We got you. We see you. You got this. We love you. You gonna make it. We ain't gonna let them take this,
I just want to say, between the two of you, but especially Sharon, y'all cutting Cory Booker's re-election ad right now, because honestly, I don't think anybody has talked that nicely about him in a good long while.
Somebody said he still can only get a plate at the cookout. Like he get a plate for it. Get an extra piece of cornbread.
Yeah, ain't nobody clearing a space for his ass on the bench. He ain't gonna sit down at the spades table. But
I was just gonna say he can't sit at the spades table.
Nah, he looks like maybe he might play like hearts.
He can or you can sit at my spades table, boo.
Okay.
Or you can sit at my spades table, boo.
All I know is that this, I didn't know how things were gonna go when the confirmation hearings started, and I was seeing visions of Bork and other people who Justice, who is that Harriet Meyer that Bush tried to get on the court. I was having flashbacks of what it was going to take, because even from our own communities, and we talked about it on the first day of when she was the person who was announced as the nominee, we talked about some of the blowback she was facing from within our own community. And I said, see, it's going to be something. But as more things came out, as she was revealed to be more and more bulletproof, it was like, okay, so what does this actually mean? Like, how is it actually going to work? And then she came out, and she was just unflappable. And it was perfect that Cory made the statement that he made, and that it got the attention that it did at the time that it did. Because, you can't be too unflappable, because,
she's hard.
She's cold.
Arrogant.
But to buckle, not under hazing, but under love.
Yes, that part.
That's the thing. She proved implacable on the fuckery. But when her brother said, I got you, she was overcome. And I don't know how many black people were watching that moment and could still find it in their hearts to express anything other than pride and respect for the way she handled herself. That to me was the moment where it was like, okay, see, now she's not just that, you know, that prototypical hard-edged black woman who had to be the best, you know, which it's that's not a universe we created for our black women or for our black people, period. You know, we'd be happy to be the same sort of folks we are at the family reunion in the job if you let it happen. But if you don't let it happen, then we got to do what we got to do in order to get what we got to get. And so this woman, in this moment, with her supportive husband, with her beautiful children, and with a senator who said, I'm not going to let your joy be stolen or my joy be stolen through this BS. You need to know that I am here for you and you about to be a justice.
Yeah.
And it was a magical moment for us because it was unlike some things. You know, Obama couldn't get Merrick on the court.
Right.
He couldn't do it.
Right.
And then Mitch decided he wanted to be cute. And now this woman, this extraordinarily highly qualified woman who has to be in the presence of her lessors just to get through and skip these ropes and jump these hurdles so that she can get her black robe. And she's going to be cared for by her GI husband. So ain't going to be no sickness now. You know, we got you covered over.
Her diet is tight.
Oh, you know the diet is tizite. This is what we have. This is the next justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yes.
You know,
sir.
I have to.
Chuck?
This thought is just occurring to me. I have to wonder, like, if Merrick Garland had not been blocked and had made it onto the court, what changes in that spin-off universe to where we don't get this? You know, everything happens for a reason. Does Biden feel that this is necessary in the moment if there hadn't been so much obstruction prior to this? You know, and so
he needed that for the vote. Boo.
Yeah, he did.
Of course.
This was payback, and he was unapologetic about it. I mean, I think to your point, the dynamic of the court would have been substantively different. But RBG holding on to her seat when she should not have. If not for that, then we would have gotten her replacement. Because he could have replaced her before the election year, which was a bullshit excuse, but he could have done it. And Mitch would not have had he would have had the chutzpah to try, but he wouldn't have had the standing to make that argument in the way that he made it, because he threw Biden's rule back on him, and so that gave him the political cover he felt he needed in order to do what he did. But you know, obviously for him to turn right back around and confirm Amy Coney Barrett in a record time showed that he wasn't really about that life. It was just like, oh no, we gonna fill that seat. If that seat goes vacant, we gonna fill it. Best trust and believe. We finna fill it. And so now it's redounded back to him, and not in the way he anticipated. And now he's got one of his stalwart justices in the crosshairs, and it's not a pretty situation. What else do we have?
I think Chuck was trying to jump in about.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Corey.
Yeah. You know, honestly, Sharon, I want to extend kudos to you for how you brought this segment in, and for definitely being able to capture the moment that I think we all felt when we saw it, whether you saw it live or whether you saw it on replay. Unless you are just completely tone deaf or the most non-empathetic person on earth, there's no way on earth that you could be black, melanated, or even black adjacent ally and not have been moved by Senator Booker the other day. Whether you like his politics, whether you like him, even as a human being, it doesn't matter. In that moment, he was magnanimous. And again, Sharon, you broke it down. Joy, you broke it down. Tom, you broke it down. I think that the thing that I take from this week, and I'll call this my little closing argument, since I lost half of the battle early on. Tom eviscerated me in the first 10, 15 minutes, but that's why we call ourselves Steel Sharpens Steel.
That's right.
We sharpen each other and make each other think, and even on our own perspectives. But we all have been in those situations, not the Supreme Court necessarily, but within our own spheres of influence, right? Where, again, and I saw someone in the comments say something like this, but I see where you lock eyes with the only other Black person in a lily white space, and there is a connection. Thank you, Shay Johnson. And we've all been there, right? And I think that the thing that I want to just express briefly is, for those who watch us, and we have some really good, what I consider to be allies who watch and follow and all of that type of stuff, right? And we appreciate you. And we have some not so great allies who want to only come up and be like Rumpelstiltskin and make comments when they disagree or whatever. So, we pray for you too. God bless your hearts. But the truth of the matter is, we still are, to a great extent, invisible men and invisible women across America, which is one of the reasons why, and I know we probably won't be able to spend much time on this tonight, but it's one of the reasons that it kind of hurt me to see the Black News Channel, the news that it's about to fold. Because while we have our show tonight, when I say invisible men and invisible women, there are so many whites across America, be they educated whites, non-educated whites, or whatever. They don't know that even some of the great things that Sharon was speaking about Judge Brown Jackson's circle of friends, we all have circles like that. Sharon has a circle of friends and sorors that have done amazing things in their areas of expertise. Joy, same deal. Tom, same deal. When you go to FAMU's homecoming, when you go to Spellhouse homecoming, when you go to any of the HBCU homecomings, you can't throw a stick without running into somebody's doctor, lawyer, engineer, professor, business owner, movie producer, judge, you name it. We're out here doing it. But if you let the popular culture tell the story for us, the story is that, Ketanji Brown Jackson is 1 in a million. While she's brilliant and was the most brilliant person in the room, there are plenty of brilliant Black people in all sorts of endeavors across the world who are doing some great stuff, and we don't get our stories told enough. Right. Sometimes people will say, well, Chuck, you're always shouting out the HBCU this or Black person this or that. I'm like, we have to do that because we still exist in a society where they think that we are some form of anomaly, when there are plenty of us who, if given the chance, can dominate within our own respective industries too. But we often are not. And so with that, that's what I took from Brother Corey. It was, an extremely eloquent form of fuck these people who are around us. We know who they are. You and I know what we're dealing with. They ain't about shit. We get it. You're going to be confirmed. Fuck them all, and welcome to the Supreme Court. And I appreciate him for being able to do that without all of the curse words that I might have chosen, because we're bilingual. The Steel Sharpens Steel crew, we can go erudite 1 minute and we can go
hood
gutter the next. It depends on the mood that I'm in as to which way we're going to go. But Corey chose to go high, like the former FLOTUS used to say, instead of going low and kicking them in the teeth. And I think in that moment, he definitely made the sister feel the love, so to speak. And so it's great. And I look forward to seeing her get sworn in soon enough.
I have to say on that note, Chuck, when you were talking earlier, like at the top of the show, about you couldn't be in that room because you would be wanting to protect her. In my mind, and that's when I started laughing. In my mind, I had an image of like Cruz or the little turtle man just standing at the podium saying something, and you come through with like the shoulder tackle, like boom, like that old commercial where the dude would tackle people in the offices. I saw it in my head. You had on a nice like pinstripe navy blue suit, and you just ha ha on
That's me.
everybody, and it was awesome.
That's your boy. That's exactly how it would pop off. And what I'd be one of those guys that's smiling in the mug shot when I'm charged with battery. I'd be like,
I did.
you know, like not even sad. Yeah, I did that. I fucked them up because they were trying our system. You get where I'm coming from?
Well, you kind of danced off it quickly, but I want to address again quickly as we go out that BNC was a network based in a city that 3 of us have called home. And they were doing what I consider to be a remarkable job of bringing real journalism from a Black perspective. They recruited and scored a lot of top flight talent. And for those of you who have friends who are missing the sort of trenchant commentary that you had come to expect on BNC with the likes of the Mark Lamont Hill Show and Charles Blow, we here. Hello. Invite your friends to enjoy Steel Sharpens Steel.
We will stand in the gap for you.
We are standing in the gap, and we don't require external funding to do our show. So we're just going to keep doing it.
But it would be nice.
External funding would be great. We could look at a Patreon if y'all want to support. We still got to get that merch out the door. I'm just saying, as we continue to march on toward the 100 episodes, those of you who are in a position to evaluate and make some determinations about talent, I won't say young talent or fresh talent, because we all maybe perhaps a little less than fresh, but we still talented. And we can still hold the show together. And we're getting to the point where we don't have to do everything virtually anymore. So, we can be in a studio. Atlanta's not that far away from Tallahassee. We can do some demos and things. I'll come out and we can sit down around a table and get it cracking. So, BNC, we hardly knew ye. Thank you for what you have done over the last 3 years, because you really did do some remarkable stuff. There is still a space for our voices. There is still a space for our perspectives. And those of you who are interested in being a part of that movement, please invite people to join our show, watch, comment, subscribe, be a part of the system. And with that, I'll say that I'm Tom Cunningham.
I am Joy Stevens.
I am Sharon Letman Hicks.
And I am Chuck Hobbs, who made it through and am still very much awake.
Woohoo! And that's because we are Steel Sharpens Steel. Let's see you next week.